I want to thank everyone for coming today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your days to come and meet Diana with us. Today's event is a collaboration between Team PACE, which stands for the Entertainment and Arts Managers at Pace University, and ODI One Day Immersion with Dolly Wolf. I wanted to share a little bit about Team PACE, just because we're a new organization. We were founded by 3 of our students in fall 2020, right at the get-go of the pandemic. So our mission statement is that we strive to provide Leuven graduate students of PACE with opportunities to learn, grow, and share experiences within the arts and entertainment management industries. Our goals include the implementation of holistic educational programs and networking opportunities with respected alumni, industry professionals, and others to better prepare students for their careers in entertainment and the arts. And something that we are very interested in is DEIA initiatives. So we're committed to diversity, inclusion, and tolerance across race, gender, age, religion, sexual orientation, identity, and personal experiences. And I know that Dolly will definitely speak about this, but there is going to be a one-day immersion conference which focuses on diversity, which everyone should register for. But without further ado, I'd like to kick it off to Dolly Wolf, who is the president and creator extraordinaire of One Day Immersion and a personal friend and mentor to me. Dolly.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Right back at you. Yes, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for your participation and your support of the programs that we do offer. And on behalf of my ODI team, I mean, we really sincerely appreciate participation and kind of checking us out. We are focused on connecting some of the smartest people in the industry with leaders of tomorrow. We believe in offering every student from all backgrounds every opportunity to gain access to those making moves in the industry and to be successful in your careers in media, entertainment, and technology. I want to quickly mention about our fall conference. We're in our 9th year. It's happening on November 5th. It's virtual, always free, and not even kidding, it is a full-blown day of exceptional keynotes like American icon Gloria Steinem, Oprah Winfrey Network's President Tina Perry, and CBS CEO George Cheeks, just to name a few. We have interactive panels throughout the day and a breakout session with Discovery Inc.'s human resource folks. So please check us out and sign up for the event at onedayimmersion.com/2021. I just wanted to also mention that I did meet Jennifer through Media Mentors. She's attended numerous sessions and reached out to me to explore opportunities. So we see this as a win-win for ODI and the great students of PACE and those watching outside of the university. So my hat is off to you, Jennifer. Our amazing guest speaker today is Diana Horowitz, and she is the Senior Vice President, Advertising Sales with fuboTV, the live TV streaming platform that is transforming how people watch sports, news, and entertainment. A special shout out from me to Billy Romero with fuboTV for helping to make this possible. Thank you, Billy. Diana is a highly experienced digital and broadcast sales executive who leads the national ad sales team, as well as overseeing ad operations and overall sales and growth strategy for fuboTV and its linear channel, Fubo Sports Network. Prior to joining Fubo in 2020, Diana held leadership roles with Telestream, IBM Watson Media, Comcast Technology Solutions, and Scripps Networks Interactive, now Discovery Inc., where she led the digital advertising sales team Northeast region for Food Network and Cooking Channel. She started her career at the New York Times Company, where she held numerous leadership roles in both New York and Paris for the New York Times and International Herald Tribune. Diana was named to Multi-Channel News' 2020 Women to Watch list And she is a sought-after thought leader and at industry conferences and events, and now at Media Mentors with ODI. Diana received her BA in French language and literature from the George Washington University. She's had such a dynamic career to date. And when we first spoke, I was immediately connected to her positive vibe and her strong mentoring spirit. So I'm so excited that she is with us today. And I would like you to please welcome Diana Horowitz.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Dolly, for that kind introduction. It's definitely an honor for me to be here. Jennifer, it's great to meet you and all of the members of this wonderful organization. I mean, I'm so excited that you've started it, yourselves from the in the midst of the pandemic. That is such a great achievement already. And, overall mentorship and diversity, these are very dear and core values for myself personally, and really anywhere that I've been fortunate to work. So it's truly an honor to be here. And I'll say that I'm going to I have some remarks, but please, interrupt me. This is to be very interactive. Any direction that you'd like me to go, I'll go. And I have some guidelines from Dolly about some high points that I'll hit. But again, so thank you. So I think it's interesting, and as Dolly, your kind introduction of my career, it sounds like everything lined up. That was just such a logical progression. But I can tell you that actually it was all sorts of different twists and turns and surprises that have really made my career. And so I would say the first thing to keep in mind is in a position to start off your career is to keep a very open mind about opportunities that come your way. You could come up and end up in a very different direction than you might have planned. As you heard, I studied French literature and art history. My ambition was to be a curator in a museum, I ended up, I applied to go to curating school in Paris, the École de Louvre, and I went and I actually started translating for an art magazine. That was my first real job, sort of in media, and through that I met different people in the art world, and had an opportunity to start selling advertising for an art magazine, which literally I sold door to door to the art galleries in Paris. And that was really my first job in sales, so very far from where I ended up. But it's certainly, an example of unexpected opportunity. I then applied for a role that I got at the International Herald Tribune, which is owned by the New York Times. And that was really the start of my career in media. I started out actually editing our advertorial sections. And from there, moved into coming up with ideas for those sections. So more of a development role. From there, doing special projects, and eventually became sales development director, doing all of our new development. And that's really sort of, I think, a theme in my career has been, from that point, always being in the media at different moments of change, great change. So at that moment, it was really the move from print to digital. So we were all newspaper and moving over into the digital world. And at the time, the New York Times had co-owned the Herald Tribune with the Washington Post. And in 2004, they took over 100% ownership. And, there was a strategic planning activity that was launched. And without any strategic planning background of my own, I actually ended up being the person working with the New York Times team representing ad sales. One of the reasons being I was one of the only Americans on the staff. But so, ended up actually almost, I sort of feel like it's sort of my MBA, working with this very talented team to understand, how do you think about, sizing a market, and what are the advertising opportunities in that market, what are the best, who are the competitors, where we're going to take market share, all of those kind of things, sort of business background, really came through that experience. Then I was fortunate enough, the New York Times moved me back to New York in 2005 with my French husband, who I met along the way. And then, in that role in New York, I really worked on the integration between the two companies, and eventually moved over to a sales leadership role at the New York Times. So from sort of managing strategy and business development to really managing a team. And one thing that's wonderful about the New York Times is they provide a lot of training. And that's another sort of advice I would give is, anytime you have an opportunity to do training or learnings, it's very, very important. So, to really manage teams and understand how to, motivate teams. I did a lot of that with the New York Times. And one of the other things that the New York Times does is they have you manage lots of different categories. So I started managing sort of these big corporate companies like oil companies and transportation companies. Then they moved me. I did travel. I did real estate, and then interestingly, they had me manage an inside sales team. So that's a lot of telesales actually, which in those days people still picked up the phone. So, but again, it's a very, very different than anything that I'd ever done before. So. It was a lot of opportunity to learn new ways of interacting. Then from there, I went to Scripps Networks Interactive, as Dolly mentioned, and that was really my entree. I'd never really sold or worked in television before. But that role came really through someone I'd worked with at the New York Times connected me. So, that's another sort of very important touch point is, keep your connections. Those are a lot of the ways that once you get started, you'll find new opportunities. But this was a role, and this wasn't the first time that I was in a role actually, managing a team and managing managing advertising business in a sector that was completely new to me. So I brought a lot of the skills, that I had from a management and planning perspective, but I really learned a lot about television and digital advertising really on the job. And not only learning from peers, but also learning from people who were on my team. You can really learn from anybody, and you absolutely should be open to those. Everyone has something to bring to you and to share. And that's a very important aspect, I think, of success is, having that open mind. So this was a very, the times that we're living in now where you can watch television as you can with fuboTV without having a cable subscription. That was the very start of all of this. And one of the areas that I got very interested in was the technology side. And eventually I went from Scripps and advertising, which has been my whole career, to technology sales. So again, Comcast Technology Solutions, IBM, and Telestream are all tech companies in the media world. But I remember my first days at Comcast doing VOD, VOD, video on demand sales. On my first conversations with clients, realizing that I actually had quite a bit to learn. I understood everything about the business side. But really, over those next few years, really learned the technology side of the business. So again, that transition from traditional television to OTT and on demand that we're living today. And then, so I was at Telestream, and this opportunity came to participate in fuboTV as the head of ad sales. And really that came because the CEO of fuboTV had actually been a member of my team when I was at Scripps. And he came to me and gave me this opportunity. And it was actually right February 28th, 2020. So one of the last conversations I actually had in person before the pandemic hit. But, he'd, kindly, obviously kept a good, memory and good perception of, working for me and how I'd handled the team at the time. And so gave me this opportunity. So that's, and again, back at the sort of the cusp of change in the industry, I think, what we saw during the pandemic was this major shift or acceleration of trends of, viewers really being much more, agnostic as to how they watch television, cord cutting, really taking on steam. One of the big reasons from the business side is that you can actually now watch a streaming service on a television set. So connected TV and all of that technology that makes it possible to, watch with the best experience without having to have cable. That's been the big, driver, I think, of our business. So that's kind of in a nutshell, my career. And, I think just sort of on the aspect of what have been sort of the key themes. And when I think about what has made the career, fulfilling to me and what can others learn from it is, as I said, this willingness, if something is new, feel confident in what you do know, and also be open and confident in your ability to learn. That's very important. Don't put yourself in a box, and be willing to take on new opportunities. Things might seem, I remember when they put me on telesales at the New York Times, I thought, well, that's not as exciting as going out and meeting, real estate people and doing, big fun dinners. But you know what? It's probably was the best management experience that I could have had. So there's always something to learn and take away. And a lot of times things that, other people might not find that they want to do, if you take it on, it gives you, more credibility and learning. So that's very important. I think one thing, and I think this ties back to, this whole question of diversity and doing the right thing. It's very important to and this I learned from my dad, but, keep your moral compass, in business or in life, it's the same sort of set of values that you bring. There's a lot of talk, what makes you successful in sales. And we sort of all have had that, poor sales experience when someone is so trying to almost, you feel like, trick you. And that's not how, I've achieved success, or how anyone that I've worked with, when you're in sales, I used to say to my team, and I still say to my team, we're actually in the service industry. We actually bring opportunities. In our case, fuboTV, we have a specific audience who watches our programming. We have a particular content environments, and we want to bring to our prospective advertisers, this is how, we can understand and achieve your goals through our services. And, I have maintained relationships with people that I've, been originally started out as clients or customers, throughout my career in that way. And so, that's just a very key point, and something that I think sometimes gets lost when you're thinking about your business career. Then I think, that whole aspect of creating connections, you've heard that's a theme, very important. And, working hard, it sounds obvious, but, sometimes it just takes working a little bit harder than anyone else. And that will push you forward. So, those are kind of the learnings that I've taken away. And I think, I'm just looking, Dolly gave me a great cheat sheet here and just said, proudest accomplishments. I think when I think about my career, a lot of that has to do with people, helping people on my team to achieve their goals, or be better. And of course, at Fubo, what's been great is, it was a new company. It only launched in 2015. So when I started last year in June, there were 5 people on the team, and today there are 15. So it's been really, and that was the great thing that, when David came to me with this opportunity, David Gandler, was the opportunity to actually build a team, taking all of my learnings and build also the type of team environment that I value, which is, everyone being recognized for their skills and to bring their best to the team. So that's really what's been the most fulfilling, I think, at Fubo, is building out a team that's also been successful. And if you look at, we're a public company, so you can see in Q2, we were, from an ad sales perspective, we had a 281% growth over last year. From a subscriber perspective, 138% growth. So it's very fulfilling to, of course, bring these great practices, and we really do have them at Fubo, and also be successful from a business perspective.
That's amazing to hear. That is a lot. The percentage that it's changed, that's kudos to you and your team.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I do have, I have a couple of questions myself.
Please.
And then I will open this up for Q&A for anyone. If you want to be on camera or unmute yourself, you can do that as well. Feel free to introduce yourself. We're in an intimate setting. So my question's a little bit loaded, but you started off in the creative industry. I would say a curator has to have that creative element to see how things fit together. And then you went into ad sales, which is, I would say, I don't know, I cannot speak for that, but I would say it's like a corporate, very like a managerial role. So how do you incorporate creativity into this role? And do you feel that sometimes it's lacking in that way? And then my follow-up to that is that, did you ever have a resistance to sales because you thought of it in a certain way?
So I think that those are both really great questions. And I think, just take the second question first, and as I mentioned, I have a very different vision of what sales means than the, kind of used car salesperson, that idea of like, you're not, trying to sort of trick someone into buying something, or, I think there are some negative connotations around sales. And from my perspective, I've never felt that was what I brought to the table. I was always seeking to help, a client or a customer or a business achieve their goals. And that's absolutely the culture of any successful salesperson, actually, that I know, that you're actually it's a service profession. If I talk about, it's the holiday time period right now. A lot of our viewers on fuboTV, obviously, are sports, first, but we have news and entertainment for the entire family. And we carry networks that I used to sell directly, like Food Network and HETV. And so now it's the holiday time, and we know that those networks are successful for specific, categories of advertising. So we bring them those opportunities. And I think that ties back to the first question, where the creativity comes in, because advertising actually can be a very creative profession. It's actually very interesting because it's sort of an intersection of business and creativity, so we might be working with an advertiser, that has objectives to bring forward, and, rather than just buy a commercial spot, coming up with a whole creative campaign. There's something, if you've heard about branded entertainment. So, actually creating custom content that actually tells the story. So there's actually quite a bit of creativity along with the business side. And it's also, it's understanding what is the most beneficial component of a product for the viewer or for the consumer. So I think it all comes together, and I think sales is what you make it. I think if you take that idea that you're actually providing a service and you're trying to help a brand, sell its products, reach its target audience, and then bring the creativity that helps you, put together those advertising campaigns. It can be very fulfilling. Well, I found it very fulfilling. Even coming from my background of thinking, maybe someday I'll do it, but I'd love to be a curator. Still would love to do that. I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. Maybe you can start selling things to French syndicates or like in different languages. Yeah. I think, you definitely answered my question. I like that intersection that you mentioned with ad sales, just because I don't know, my friend and I, we're in marketing and we're always offered sales jobs. And we're like, while we can do that, I don't really want to have that with that goal, because always it's the metrics that are very focused, which sometimes trumps creativity depending on the audience or who you're working with. But working in an entertainment field, I feel like it naturally should come to both ends. People understand the network in that area.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And actually, it's interesting that you say that, because at one point when I was at the Herald Tribune, I had a choice to go into marketing or more sales. And in my case, actually, the reason I liked going into the sales side is, your success is very clear. You have quite a very specific accountability, and no one can take that away from you. We made our goal, and so it's kind of a mix, but definitely. Yes. If you think about sales is really helping people, and especially if you have a good marketing bent, and can come up with creative ideas, it can be a very exciting career.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think of it in that perspective, where it's like on the positive towards you of like you made that goal too.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Anyone else have additional questions?
I actually do. I was wondering, Diana, could you kind of walk us through a typical day, or I don't know if it's easier to be a week of your role in ad sales and running a team and managing a team, and just
sure.
I'd love to know what that sounds like and looks like.
Sure. No, that's a great question. Well, it's what's fun about it is it's very varied, as you'll hear. So, I start out the week really working with the team. We have on Mondays something called action planning, I call it, with the sales team, and we look at sort of what are the meetings that are planned for the week. Someone might be meeting with General Electric, someone might be meeting with Lexus, someone might be meeting with Unilever, and so we'll have the salespeople on the team. My sales VPs who work with me, I've been one who's very focused on video, one very focused on sponsorship, our head of ad sales marketing, and then our head of ad sales insights. And what we want to make sure is that as the team goes into these meetings that they have planned for the week, that they have everything they need. So if they're going to meeting, it might be Unilever, it's holiday time, they're putting together a campaign around all of their holiday products. Who's their target audience? Our ad insights person can help provide the metrics about our viewers who would be the right audience for their products. What are the right, what's the right content environment? What else? So do you have your sales deck all set? Head of ad sales marketing, make sure that they have all that they need there. So that's really where it starts out, really having that discussion that I was just mentioning of, are we ready for the week? And, and that's what we know is happening in the week. Weeks, everything can happen. We try to plan for it. So we have, we might have requests for proposals in progress. We might have, there might be challenges, a campaign is not delivering, but so that's really where we start the week, is with this action planning with the sales team. Then I, especially now in COVID, we do a lot of meetings because, some of these things that you might do in person, might be more check-ins, but, bring together the whole team. So our whole team includes the sales team, as I just mentioned, but also we have ad sales, insights and marketing, ad sales finance, ad operations. We have someone who works on yield management. So what that means is to make sure that when we sell a video campaign, we have enough inventory. So meet with those teams. So that's really, so Monday is a lot of that. Then, I work with external partners or, other stakeholders in the company. So engineering and finance, the larger marketing teams, our product teams. So there's a lot of interaction that way. And then, finance is a lot of the business side, how are we doing? Are we making our goals for whatever quarter that is? And then I have also sort of the outbound, and especially now we were just saying with the market coming back, either on Zoom calls with clients or out in meetings, having my own discussions and connections with clients is a big part as well. So that's in a nutshell. There's a lot obviously goes in, but advertising really is at sort of the center of all or is impacted by everything that's done at the company. So whether it's the content side or the product side, that's another team that I meet with quite a bit. What are we doing next quarter, next year? All of that is a big part of sort of what I do on a daily basis, and try to have as much outside contact. At Fubo, I'm actually also head of our diversity committee, so I do as much as I can around that as well. So it's a lot of different. It's really a lot of interaction, which is fun, which is great.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Okay.
I have one booted up in case we need it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll take the reins, but I have heard recently, in terms of a leadership position or managing a team, that one of the hardest things to get people to do things is motivation. So how do you personally motivate your team, and do you find that statement to be correct?
No, that's a great question. And so I think, and it's really about making the whole team understand and, truly see their contribution to the success of the team. So it's not just about, the sales team, they're obviously in market, but the ad operations team, we're lost without them. So it's really making sure, and I have very specific things that I do actually with the team. So during COVID, we have a daily stand-up with the team just to make sure that there's a daily check-in. So just 15 minutes a day with the entire team. I make sure that we have a lot of transparency about our goals and, where we stand. Really focus on making sure that every single person on the team knows that they make a contribution to the success. It's, the sales team, the ad operations team, ad insights, ad sales finance, every single person on the team is essential, and really making sure that they understand and know that. So that's one really key component. Now I've actually been able to bring my team together on an on-site, which is great. But really making sure that those, that value is there. And then, making sure that there's open communication. I mean, I'm very, very focused on that. So, we have, we work in Slack, but, we communicate in the Slack channel. We have a general channel. We have one for ad sales deals that we use, because I want to make sure that, if someone has back to the creativity, they're working with a client, they have a great idea. I want to make sure that those great ideas are across the team. So that's a very big component. We really try to share ideas, make sure everyone understands the value that they bring. And, I think a big thing is also understanding the reason why people are asked to do things. It's very important for people to see the bigger picture of what we're doing. So, and I think a leader, a lot of what you try to do is you try to make things easier for your team. What are the things that could be blocking my team from achieving their goals? Is it taking too long to get a request back, or what is it? And I think it's sort of that concept of the servant leader, to sort of I always say I'm sort of like the main admin for my team. I want to make sure that there are no blockers, and that's really I think where I've always found motivating a team. That's what's worked for me.
That's great. So just to sum up, there's recognition, and with motivating employees or colleagues or anything, I like how you mentioned that there is different avenues, like if someone's not good on Slack, that you contact them a different way, or maybe that person is not doing what he or she is doing because that just doesn't go with how they are. So finding different pathways for different people is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, no, it's really true. It's really true. And then, again, making sure that success is shared success, because every single member of the team contributes, and that needs to be understood,
Yes. Yes.
And communicated. That's one of the roles of, sort of leadership is, making people understand the value of what they bring, and encouraging that. So
you're kind of like the number one cheerleader of your team.
Partially, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. So, Dolly, if you have anything else to say, I will wrap up.
All right. No, I think that's how lucky your folks are to be, working with you, Diana. It sounds like the culture that you have set. I'm assuming we were kind of talking about this, Jennifer and I, at the beginning, how an organization, creates their culture at the top, and how that just kind of trickles down. It's obvious when somebody really enjoys what they're doing and really thrives in what they do. So it's obvious because of all of the successes that fuboTV is showing. Every time I look at a trade or see something come through, there's always some very positive things going on. So congratulations to that. I think I'm sure you are incredibly proud of what's going on. So thank you. I mean, how about you, Jennifer? How would you like to end today's session?
I would like to end this session by maybe posing a question for everyone. Mm-hmm. If you were in a leadership role, how would you approach it? And what methods would you do to motivate other people? And how would that be similar or different from Diana's? Because I'm writing these things down, and I'm going to hold them so that I know how to lead as well. They're really good tips. And thank you, Diana, for taking time out of your day. It was very insightful, a really good conversation. So,
yes, thank you.
From my perspective as well, thank you for the opportunity. And I'm very open. If questions come up after the fact that anyone wanted to ask me, feel free to, send me an email, and I'd be happy to answer any follow-up questions.
Terrific.
My pleasure.
Terrific. Well, thank you. And thanks everyone for spending some time with us today. And be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Make sure to sign up for the conference as well. There's many more tidbits that you don't want to miss.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.